Nature is and isn't a broad concept. If you take the more philosophical interpretation, it loosely means the way a thing is, what it's made of, consists of, how it exists under normal circumstances. It's not a far stretch to see how the interpretation is derived from the more literal and physical usage of the word. Nature being nature, that of the world, biomes, environments, ecosystems, and what individual things or traits make up those places, especially what makes them unique. By assessing what those elements are, humans are able to see and label categories based on the differences and similarities. Deserts are deserts because of their natural traits they have which tropical zones don't. Creating these labels helps humans know how to react and what to expect from each of them. The natural state of things. Besides, humans love to categorize. Categorization is considered by many to be a natural behavior of the humans. The term natural behavior refers to the physical, literal, and metaphorical interpretations of the word natural. For our little chat, though, it's how the subject exists in relations to factors both internal and external, normal or with intervention. Cataloging the traits and behaviors of something and how they intersect is very important to the humans. It can be, and often is, used to study and learn how animals, environments, and people affect each other. How? It provides more in-depth analysis and information on what the humans can expect and how to react or keep themselves safe. Or so they think. Categorizing the natural world offers the humans a sense of safety through knowing and understanding. This partially helps them to understand whether or not something and its behaviors poses a threat to the humans and their own natural behaviors and cycles of life. Even if the subject in question is believed to be totally non-threatening pre-analysis, the categorization helps. It is then doubly imperative to continue this practice of analyze and categorize when the subject poses an actual danger. Because what's more dangerous than the unknown? While the information gives a good baseline, they also accept it doesn't cover all the bases. When a subject behaves in a way that is different or outside the normal behavior expected of it or its group, that behavior is immediately categorized as abnormal in comparison. Abnormal. Deviating from what's normal or usual, typically in a way that is undesirable or worrying. When an abnormal behavior appears, it requires immediate attention and further study. It must also be analyzed, and in a way, categorized to see how much of a threat it is to the subject, or those in contact with it. And make no mistake, it is a threat until proven otherwise, simply because it is abnormal. Guilty until proven innocent. Why? Because abnormal means not just different, but deviating from the average in a human's perception. Commonly put, it is off, or wrong, out of place. And for this perspective, the humans are not totally at fault either. As the trait of categorization is often from within them to put things in mental places, it follows then they also have the natural behavior to tell when something is out of place. It is the human's natural instinct to perceive, analyze, and utilize patterns to ensure their survival. In the beginning, this was a crucial natural behavior. For example, knowing when a patch of grass has been moved, triggering the category in the brain of what animal moves it like that, allowed for a further deduction of threat level and the proper reactions. Though they did not have the words for it back then, they were recognizing something abnormal, something wrong. They didn't need words. They just knew and acted on this natural behavior, instincts, and reaction. Time passed. Humans progressed and evolved. Their reliance on their need for this behavior diminished greatly. For the most part, many were not out in the wilds worrying about an animal surprise ambush in their camp, or a nearby camping group of enemies doing the same. Many were relatively safe in their homes, and gradually, the behavior's necessity lessened. Now it tends to only reappear in the most dire of circumstances, potentially life-threatening ones. But since, for most, that's a rare occurrence, when it does appear, the effect's pretty ironic. The natural survival behavior kicks in, and many describe it as a gut feeling. They may not realize what's occurring at the start, but what they do know is the feeling is different. It's abnormal to their usual modus operandi, and thus is scary. And then the feeling itself can cause further fear and concern. How did this happen? Because many humans forgot. They forgot their feeling is not simply a behavior or an instinct. They forgot it was also a skill. Just like they forgot about us. They forgot how to utilize this behavior to their advantage as a skill to practice and hone in on. They used to practice the skill daily, not only in response to danger, but to curiosity. Why did that certain plant grow differently in the shade than those around it? Why do some rocks break easily and others don't? It was a skill to protect and learn. It led them to discover their world, to analyze and categorize further, so when the skill became necessary for survival, it had already paid for itself and was sharply prepared. Abnormal meant caution? But why? Now, they only use it in its limited form. Humans discovered many things, and for most, what once was viewed as abnormal became known, categorized, whether safe or unsafe. The knowledge gave confidence in facing abnormality and how much caution or fear was necessary. Since, in knowing about it, many abnormalities then became normal, in a sense that they did not pose a threat, and so did not require further use of their skill or behavior. They became just weird, or odd. So then, the dangerous abnormal became even more so. It became more associated with the simple principle of it. Now when they notice something abnormal, if they do, they often label it as wrong. Not just different, wrong. And wrong is dangerous. But this don't just apply to the natural world and its behaviors around them. It applies to their fellow humans and even themselves. For the most part, outside of the wilds, the biggest danger humans have to worry about are other humans. In this way is the primary form they've kept the threat assessing portion of their behavior in focus as a skill. Oh sure, they still use their pattern recognition behavior to learn and discover, but it's mostly removed from danger and the safety of labs and equipment. Triggering the human response behavior to abnormality works back to the most primal instincts when the abnormal ones in their tribes posed a danger or trouble and would thus be shunned and monitored for future threat. This behavior and reaction has stayed with them because use of that skill taught them that shunning and eliminating abnormality is good because it means safety. And what is a human's number one objective? Survive. Now when the humans get bad vibes, a gut feeling, or a bad texture about someone that they can't explain, it is not a feeling! It is a behavior. The behavior they forgot how to harness into skill. But they know in their bones that something is wrong, and that means bad. What's worse, contrary to what many humans believe, they ain't always right. When they utilize their behavior skillfully, many times through further analysis and discovery, they learn that what had potentially posed a threat before was not the case. It was odd, maybe funny looking, but harmless. In a way, their feelings were wrong. But they still continued to question, to analyze, and to investigate. Though, that wasn't often the case when it came to a fellow human, and it's still the same. Any human deemed abnormal, especially now that humans are the primary threat to other humans, is often given no second look beyond monitoring, shunning, or negatively affirming behavior that they are wrong, and thus, not like the others, and not welcome. Humans have, in ways, become more brutal about this. This is no surprise. They know they do this. And to their credit, more and more are standing up against this behavior. There is another form of this lurking in the shadows. Sometimes as a result of the former. This is their behavior towards their own self-perceived abnormality. Believing part of themselves or their behavior to be abnormal is dangerous for a human, because it is most oftentimes wrong, and fed by other wrong perceptions. It is a kraken of a monster, and an irony because it provides a kind of confirmation bias to their perceived abnormality. Human experience has taught them if they believe they're normal, but everyone else is saying they or their behavior's wrong or abnormal, then that, by principle, makes them the abnormal one. The odd one out. It becomes a double whammy. That's the right way to use that, right? That's what that means? Their behavior reserved for outside threats then turns inward, often with a cycle of disgust and resentment. They internalize the negative treatment they receive from others due to their abnormality. Sometimes it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of a human viewing themselves as wrong and outwardly projecting their views onto others as reason for their continued cycle of inner turmoil against self. But many times they're negatively treated by others, shunned, mistreated, bullied, new age forms of old behaviors. And self-preservation kicks in. They realize to escape their behavior that's drawing this negative focus, this perception onto them like a nightmare spotlight, they must change. They know the cause, the wrong part of them, but often view it as a symptom of a larger issue, a sign of a larger infection taking place within them, and that, if not treated, could be disastrous. It is a fight, for many, between self-preservation and annihilation. If only they and the others could remember to use their behavior as a skill to look deeper and analyze threat or simply different, they would see themselves and each other in a much different light. But they forgot. They forgot because it no longer serves them or their ever-growing desires in the way they wish it to. They believe they have evolved past the need for it. Though it helped them to get where they are and sustains them, even the most dire situations, it no longer feeds their imaginations or their curiosity, or mostly, their greed. They know better than they used to. They are better. They believe. Thus, they see no use for it. They do not listen anymore. Even the most high-minded that claim to be stalwarts against this behavior have their own forms of it within their circles. They must. How else will they identify a threat and contain it? They may scream evolution, but deep down, only their methods and focus do. Deep down, humans never change. They merely forget and neglect.